Welcome to the Why Music podcast, where we talk to independent artists about their journeys, the inspirations behind their music, and ultimately why they make music. This next artist is a soulful singer-songwriter from Dallas. Expanding her catalog one R&B banger at a time, she's truly a force to be reckoned with. Welcome to Tamieyah.
Yes, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Uh, Honored to have you. I always like to start with where your music journey kind of all started.
Well, like you said, for me, the beginnings of my musical journey started in Dallas, Texas. Both of my parents sang in our household, so it was like a lovely experience growing up. All of my siblings sing, and I used to actually write musicals and cast my siblings and my cousins in them, and like it was a whole thing. I would kick them out. Like I would have auditions. Like it was a serious thing. And so from a young age, I started writing music. But it wasn't until we moved to Miami, Florida, that I actually started like producing music and like actually recording them for like me to listen to and to keep and for my family members to listen to. So then I traveled to Tallahassee, Florida, where I attended Florida A&M University, and my major there was music industry. So over the course of that 4 years, I recorded music, I released music, I performed music, and then I ended up expanding that gift and writing music and producing music for other people in my college, and then also all of my friends too. So that's kind of how I started. I've always been like this super musical person, but in terms of making it into something, I took it to Tallahassee, and then from there, I actually moved here to New York, where I attended Berklee College of Music, the New York City campus, where I just received my master's in songwriting and production. So I've been able to take this a whole lot of places and teach even internationally. And so yeah, it's like a super cool blessing. And I'm just honored to have the gift, to share the gift, and to be able to use the gift.
I love that. You really have like Texas, New York, Florida. It's everywhere. You're
It's like I'm like a crossbreed city girl, country girl. It's so many things happening. Like my passport of life is been checked off. I've been so many places, and I absorb every environment that I've lived in. So, I feel like I'm the perfect blend of all of these places, and they've all shaped me in some way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's like experiences that's like, okay, this clearly is why I am the way that I am. But then there's other times where it's
Absolutely.
like way after the fact that you're like, okay, maybe that is where that comes from. Maybe that is the root of this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So with all of, I mean, you've been doing music in various facets over a very long time. What
Yeah.
kind of prompted you to pursue your artist project in the way that you have, and what kind of sparked that as like, hey, I want to start, I've been writing, I've been doing the music thing. It's like that's my thing. What made you kind of go from just doing it behind closed doors to kind of putting it out there and like being an artist?
Well, I think at the time, it just was like everything was becoming so accessible to me, like GarageBand, Logic, and like producing things and then finding out about like publishing companies and distribution companies and things like that. All of that technology was like becoming very readily available to me during school. So I was like, what would be the harm of trying it and seeing like where it goes? And so that's exactly what I did. Like I was performing my own songs like for my college and for my music fraternity and just doing like just trying things, and it just happened to work. People were like, we really like you, we really like your voice, we really like your energy on stage, and we think that you should keep doing this. And so that extrinsic motivator wasn't even as strong as like the intrinsic one, because I really had loved music my whole life, and I was like, well, it's kind of far-fetched to think that I'll be the next Michael Jackson, but I'm going to try. I'm going to give it my all. And in that process, I really shaped my sound and shaped my styles, where it's like no longer about becoming the next of anything, but like becoming the first of who I am. And so that inspired my project, which is actually named after myself. My name is Tamieyah, and so my first musical project is called Me, and it was just a collection, an amalgamation, if you will, of like all of my experiences up to that point of being a Southern country girl, being a pastor kid, being a romantic, like a hopeful, hopeless romantic, like all of the things that I felt like made me who Tamieyah was, like at the time. I put it into like 14 different tracks, each one having its own identity, its own sound, its own story, its own body. And that inspired a number of other works that I went on to do after that, including the projects that I'm working on releasing now, which have taken on a little bit of a different sonic palette, but I think it still remains true to the overall and overarching story of like a person who's trying, whether that be to love themselves, whether that be to love somebody else, whether that be to spread light and joy into the community that you're in. Every one of my songs like should leave the listener feeling like they can relate to the story, and then you become me. Like the me that I speak about becomes your story to tell, and your, some a way that we can bond and that we can coexist together. So even performing them live, it's always amazing when people know my music, because it means that it's sunk deep enough for it to have a place in their hearts, and that means so much to me.
There's a lot of things that you just said that I want to comment on.
Oh
Like that was all
my,
that
that's
was
good.
great. But that just when you were just talking about that project, that just clicked for me when I was looking at your catalog. I was like, it's an interesting title for a project, and then I was like, now you're blowing my mind with the fact that it's just right there in your name. That makes total sense now, and I like that. I like when things have like a deeper connection to other things and like a root of
Absolutely.
meaning, and it's not just like I don't like when albums are just titled one of the tracks off of the project. I like it when it's
Exactly.
like, tell me what this is all about. One song isn't going to tell me the whole thing. One song is just going to tell me what that one song is.
Exactly.
Summarize it for me, and you did.
Yeah,
But yeah, and I like that you said that you not focus on being the second coming of someone, you want to be the first coming of yourself.
for
That is
sure.
that is the thing. That is like I'm a big branding and like brand driven kind of person, and so like that is like you can't like you can't be somebody else. That's already them. You know what I mean? You got to kind
Literally.
of
It's
just do your own
taken.
thing. Yeah,
It's
it's
off
taken.
limits.
Yeah, and they made it this big thing by doing it their way. You do it their way, you're never gonna you're limiting yourself. You know what I mean? You're not gonna reach that
Absolutely.
height that you're aiming for.
And it takes to
Um,
try it first to realize like, this is not happening the same way for this me as it is for that person. So maybe I should navigate it the way that feels the most natural to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's about like it's learning from what other people are doing and taking away from that. And obviously we're influenced by what we consume, music and otherwise,
Sure,
but
of
like
course.
you still have to then take that and make it something new and not just reinvent that same wheel, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that you said it before I even had the chance to. Um, so what do you find most often inspires a lot of your songwriting?
Um, the most of the time, it's literally things that have happened, events that happen in my daily life that I will immediately stop and be like, I have to write this right now. Like, I cannot go a second more without documenting whatever is happening. But sometimes it's about dreams or hopes that I have, or conversations that I've had with people, or things, but they're always usually based off something that's authentic to me. I don't find a lot of pleasure, or I don't even find purpose in telling other people's stories if it doesn't come from a genuine place in my heart. So any of the songs that even when I've written for other people, I try to really become an actress, if you will, and experience and allow myself to go through the motions of whatever it is that I'm writing about, so that it is coming from a real place, my real emotions, my real thoughts and feelings, other than just, rather than it just being a nonfiction tale about something that I have no idea about. It's like, no, I've lived these things, I've experienced these things. They mean a lot to me. I still shed tears when I listen to these songs. I still laugh when I listen to these songs, because they're a part, literally, of my DNA.
Yeah, no, I think because it goes back to what we were just talking about. Like going from your own personal experience, that's what you're going to know better than anything else. And that's what's
Exactly.
going to kind of keep you in that grounded, being yourself and doing your own thing, paving your own path kind of way. Because like, we'll never run out of new music. There'll be love songs until the day we die and beyond. And, it'll be, they'll, you can there's thousands of different songs about the exact same thing, but
Exactly.
it's different perspective. It's different the ways the stories are told, the way the song is packaged, like all these different things. And it's like, that's, the human experience is universal, but like the way that we perceive it and then display it in creative works and stuff is that's where you have that liberty to do something new and different. That's where you can kind
Absolutely.
of just do your own thing.
And then in my legacy of the world's existence, like these are time capsules for me to, express where I was at a certain moment. Because even when I go back and listen to my very first song, like it makes me laugh so much how I expressed these certain things. Because I'm like, if I would have written this song now, it would sound so different. And so it's wonderful, like to in a moment, like capture something and then it stays that way even as you change and as the world around you changes, like that moment stays
Hmm.
forever. So I think, I always want the my music will outlive me for sure. um because it's like it's out there, it's going to be out there, but I want it to carry the legacy of like what was happening in that moment, almost like a history book, but like sonically. You can hear it, you can feel it all over again, and it just feels really good to go back and hear those things over.
Yeah. No, I love that you said that because it really is just like you can look back on it and hear what you sounded like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when
Yes,
however long it's been. Like you can like that as an existing thing and as an existing moment will never change. The way you remember
absolutely.
that, like whatever that song is about, that'll probably change over time. Like there are things that we realize about experiences years after the fact, and lessons learned don't always happen right away and things like that. But it's like the way that it was when you wrote that and the fact that that exists as an entity isn't going anywhere unless you just rip it from the internet. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like it's just that is the legacy, like you said.
And then even some of my friends, like when I'm in the process of making things, like they all have my WAV files. And so they're like, even if you take this down, I still have it. And so like even that is like the songs that I've taught my family members, like my great grandmother. Oh my gosh, I love her so much. She knows my music. And that's so crazy because she's 98 years old and she remembers, like my great granddaughter makes music and I know her music. I know her songs. I know what they sound like. I know her voice. And it's just like I said, it goes into the legacy of who Tamia is. And I get to control that. And I love that.
Yeah. No, I I love that take on it because it's little time capsule moments. It's a way
Yes.
to it extends beyond what we will ever know, and it's awesome. There's no really there's nothing else to say about it. It's just
It's awesome. It's
that's just a really cool
fantastic.
thing. Um, if you had to create a new genre around your style of music, what would it be called?
What would it be called? Hmm. Well, I think my music has taken bits and pieces of R&B and soul and even gospel. Very big on gospel music, and even like the country of like being growing up in Texas. That is such a staple of like what you hear growing up. So I would probably call it. I would call it twang. That's what I would call it. I would call it twang because there's like a when I think of that word, like the flavoring of that word. It's just something that like it shocks you a little bit, it's sassy a little bit, it's provocative a little bit, but it's a standalone word. It stands out, and I think that's actually what I would call it. I would call it twang music. That's what I would call it. The word just reminds me of like growing up and like hearing an old school style guitar and like I love acoustic music, and I love the ability to actually like be able to really sing and like really move people with, with my voice. So that's what I would call it. I feel confident in that answer.
Good. No, it's interesting when you first said it because I'm like, that suggests like automatically like country music. Like that's, you think of that, you think Southern twang, you think the South, you
Uh-huh.
think country, you think that kind of thing. And we're talking about R&B and soul. And while they're, everything's all connected and works at, there are bits of every genre in the others
For
and
sure.
however you want to navigate that. But you're right. It is when you take it out of that context and let it
For
be
sure.
kind of its own thing, its own entity, that makes perfect sense for the way. I mean, you didn't have me sold at first, but once you explained it, I was like, okay, I'm on board. I'm on board
Okay.
now. I'm on
All
board
right.
now. And you're solid in that answer, so I'm not going to fight it.
I'm solid. I'm solid. I'm not changing.
No questioning here. No questioning whatsoever. Is there a song that you've written that you think best embodies who you are as an artist? Your one song sample of like,
Yes.
if you like this, you'll like the rest. If you'll like this, you should be a fan. What's the pitch song?
The song that I have written that I think if I never write another song ever again, this is the one. This is the one. It's a song I just released this August. It's called Buziga. And I wrote the song inspired by my friends. I taught music in Uganda last year, and I made friends that will be my friends until the end of time. And they taught me so many things that I was going through a really rough emotional time earlier this year, and I was trying to write new music, but it wasn't happening. And I just, like, in a weekend, in a 72-hour period, I wrote an entire new album that I'm slowly releasing now. And this particular song, the words of it are very simple. It just says, I found a warrior deep in my soul. And it's this war cry. It's this very gritty and punch you in your face type of melody that it continues through the whole song. But I challenged myself to really, really find a fighter in me to keep going, to find a reason to push forward. And I think that theme of pushing forward beyond any challenge in your life is a central theme of all of my songs. Whether it's talking about, the finding love for myself or just learning how to push past the opinions and the thoughts of other people, or even just wanting to be at the top of my game or wanting to achieve the goals that I have in my life, getting up every day, taking the subway, and dealing with this crazy New York City life. I think wherever I go in my life from this point, that song, I play it when I need to get motivated to do anything. When I need to have a tough conversation with somebody, or when I'm just having a rough day and I needed to pick me up, that is the song that if you like that song, if you like the theme of that song, then you'll really like anything else that I do because it follows. It really does follow.
I One of my favorite things about asking this question is it's always interesting to see which way people take it. Some people dive really into like, it's like the thesis statement track. Like it's like this, if I'm saying one thing to you, I want this to be what you hear from me. Other people take it as like, what do I think like sonically is a summarization of all my stuff? What do I think like is the most standout thing? Like it's always interesting and you highlighted I like the I'm biased to the thesis statement sort of track because I just if you're gonna say like that's what I mean it's music is just a way of saying whatever you're trying to say and so leaning
Exactly.
into that and having that be like if I say one thing this is the one thing I want to say and then also having that kind of trickle down into the other stuff that you write that it's like it might not be the main topic of conversation here we can only say the same thing so many times but it's in there and it's a part
Yes.
of it and it's and it leaves you in a positive light like it's like an empowering thing which makes it all the more better because if your one thing that you wanted to say was like love sucks that's tough that's tough
Yeah.
but yeah it's no that's and that's a very like strong thing to lead with, a strong thing to carry out throughout other projects and things, and also to write a whole album that you just casually were like, I wrote the whole album in like a weekend. I wish. I wish.
It was the most divine experience. And that's why I feel like even with Buziga, that's one of the first songs that I fully produced on my own. And so to have that moment, like in a short amount of time, to like become that warrior, and make a song to inspire you to find the warrior in you, and for me to find the warrior in me, it just meant so much on the most semantic of levels. It penetrates me deeply as a person, and if I'm being honest, I listen to it every day, every day. It's the best
I
type of vitamin.
But that, I mean, a lot of people get weird about listening to their own music. It's
I feel that.
important.
I
It's
get it.
important. You have, I mean, you if you're not going to be your own fan, who is? You know what
No,
I
that's
mean?
100%,
You got to be your
100%.
number one.
I agree with that 100%. But I get why it could be a little weird. But when your music speaks to even you, the creator of it, then it's super special.
Yeah.
And I consider them all like my kids. Like they're all of my songs are like labors of love that have been a whole lot of time and energy has been put into them. So yeah, I should be absorbing that too, like and,
Yeah.
and really appreciating it for what it is.
Yeah, and the more aware you are of where you're at and where you've been musically allows you to kind of push forward further and be like, you can look back on it and be like, did I like the way that I did this? Would I have done it differently now? How can I implement that in future stuff? It's like you have to recognize where you're at and appreciate where you're at to also be able to move forward and do those other things.
Yes, absolutely.
What's the meaning behind the name of the song?
It's actually a city. It's a little town in Kampala, Uganda. The music camp that I was actually teaching at, there was this huge hill that you had to walk up in order to get to the camp. And so, like, even down to the meaning of that, it was like, there's this huge thing that you've got to get over every day to get to where you got to go. And so the name came immediately. I didn't even flinch or stutter. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to call it. And all of my friends back there, they felt so honored that that small experience was something that, stuck with me for such a long time, that I can't wait to go back so that I can sing the song to myself while I'm walking up the hill. Because I didn't enjoy walking up the hill then, but I may enjoy it now.
Maybe not enjoy it, but at least appreciate it, right?
I will weather the storm. I will weather.
Yeah, no, and I'm guessing then since you pulled that name, it's not in the song at all.
No, it's actually not. It's not in
I
the
see
song.
that. I like that too, where it's like it tells you what the song is, but it's not just like that main line in the chorus. You
Yeah, it
know,
gives me
it's
an
like
opportunity to speak to you about it. Because if it was that easy, you wouldn't even need to talk to me about it.
no, exactly. Like if that was just the main line there, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And
No, we
there's a
would
whole
not.
story there, and it just is another layer to the whole purpose behind it and the meaning behind it. And here we are.
You got it,
We're just
Ava.
layers on layers on layers.
You got it.
Look at the doors opening with that. If you had to pick two or three artists that you think your music is a combination of, who would it
Mm,
be?
two or three artists. Um, I really like growing up, really, really, really liked Elliot Yamin. I still really, really like him. Listen to him all the time. And the soul of his music, I think my music kind of captures the same. But then there's like I love autotune. And a lot of people say that I don't need it, but I love it. So I'm gonna say T-Pain because I always use autotune and it's not like cranked all the way 100%, but I love what it does to the cleanliness of like vocals. So that's a crazy mix right there. But I'm gonna say those two. And then let me think. One more person. I'm gonna I'm gonna say Beyonce because the power of like who like the girl power, the whole like we do this, we are strong and independent, which I by no means am trying to say I'm independent. I like being the woman that lets people do things for her. Now, I've learned that lesson, but just the overall power that she projects in her voice and in her music, I think the combination of all those things, that's what you got. That's who I am.
As soon as you said auto-tune, I was like, I know it's gonna be T-Pain. He's the
A
guy.
100%. Can't
The
even
guy.
say the word auto tune without thinking of him.
No. Have you seen the I think it was called This Is Pop on Netflix? They did like
Mm,
a not docu-series. It was like it was just a series. They did like 8 episodes and that they were like individual aspects of like how pop has
mm.
evolved over the years. And one of them was about T-Pain and auto-tune and stuff like that. And it was interesting because I mean,
I've got to get
obviously
into it.
you think of auto-tune, you think of T-Pain, but you don't like I wasn't paying attention to that conversation when it was like happening at the time.
Yes.
I don't know how old I was when that was happening or anything, or when it was like first a thing of like he's doing
Doing
it
the
and it's like,
vocals.
oh,
Yeah.
people are like weird about this and it's something new that we don't really know what to do with yet.
I
It's
was a
kind of like
kid, so I was
today's
just
AI.
vibing, but yeah, I was just
But
vibing at the time, but I understand all of it now.
yeah, no, I would recommend there. I mean, they had the other episodes were good too, but I was like that the T-Pain one was also it was definitely interesting in relation to
I
what
have
we're
to
talking
add
about right
that. I'm gonna
now.
add that to
Yeah.
my list of things to
Yeah.
watch.
I watched it not that long ago. It's been out for a little while, but
Oh, okay, so it's newer.
no, it's been around for a little bit, but it
Oh.
wasn't ever anything that would be on their front page. It wasn't ever anything that
Mm.
was like you'd have to kind of be looking through their music category
Section.
to
Yeah.
really kind of find it, but
Okay.
yeah, they had a thing on ABBA, different the boy band thing. They did a few different episodes, but yeah, no, that's interesting. It is an
Definitely
interesting
check it out.
mix. Put him in the same pot with those two.
Well, that's what I do is put things in pots that probably shouldn't go together, but it worked.
It's how we get new combinations of things. It's how we get new ideas and new artists. And this is just, you're not trying to be any one of those. We're just mixing them all
No.
together and calling that.
Yes, I'm inspired, but I do not imitate.
There you go.
That's what it
Yes,
is.
that's what it is. What is an outside passion of yours that you feel impacts who you are as an artist?
I'm gonna say cooking because the same way, like I am everybody's mama, auntie, everybody, no matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, who your mama is. I have this like very open door policy, like in my home. Like I love to host people. I love to have people over. I love to cook for people. I just love bringing people together, and I feel like food does that without too much effort. So yeah, as the type of artist that I am, I like to bring people together too. It's actually I was speaking to somebody about that. I think it's one of the gifts of mine is like bringing people together that probably wouldn't have been, cool without, just on their own. Like they have two different walks of life, two different thought patterns, two different emotional processes. And somehow, like I get all these people in a room and I look around, I'm like, this is an odd mix. Just like with the artist that I just gave you, like I'm like, this is something strange, but it works. And I've been able to do that. Like all of my friends know for like Super Bowl or Thanksgiving or any of the things that require people to be together, I 9 times out of 10 want to be the one that opens up my home to have people. And so the same thing with my music. I've tried to um, work extensively to create music that all people can relate to because I feel like there's so many reasons and ways that we can find differences. Like even you and I on this call, we can find a million ways that we're different. But, just as easy as we find ways that we're different, there are probably a lot of ways that we're similar. And just having that open floor to just dive into that, I think is beautiful. So those are they're two things that are very big a part of my personality, but I think they definitely do go together.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, the cooking thing tied directly into that for sure. And it's, yeah, and like you said, it aligns perfectly with the mix of artists that we just came up with.
Yeah.
And you never know who you might meet. You never know what conversation might come out of it. You never know what connection is possible without giving it a shot, and
Yeah,
crazy things can happen in whatever way they kind of come out,
absolutely.
it's a why not.
That's just how I am. I'm
Yeah.
very like, let's try.
So I've had one other occasion where somebody has said cooking for the answer to that question, and so I have to ask the same follow-up question to you that I did to him. And
Okay.
this was a good like 50 episodes ago. So
Oh, wow.
I'm pulling back like it's been a minute. It's um if your if your music was a dish, how would you best summarize it? What meal would it be?
It definitely will be gumbo.
Okay.
100%. 100%. I look forward to that every winter. My grandmother makes it. And it's like you can make it a number of different ways. There's like into the people in New Orleans. I know y'all have a way to make it, and everybody else probably doesn't do it the exact same. But the idea is like to put a whole bunch of things in a pot and to let it simmer and let all of the flavors come together. And then you have this one pot with so many little different things inside of it. You got vegetables and different types of meat and different types of all types of stuff going on up in there. And then you just scoop it over some rice. It's super warm and like makes you feel great inside. And it tastes really good. So that's the meal. I love gumbo so much. And I don't make it as often as I should, but I guess my music is my gumbo.
Do you make that as often as you should?
No. I do. I mean, it comes and goes in waves for sure. So I'm not going to force it if I'm not feeling it. But when it comes and it like consumes all of my energy. I'll stop whatever I got going on.
That's usually how it goes. It's just it takes it's
Literally.
if once it's there, it takes over everything. It's like wipe the desk clean of everything. Here's what we're doing.
And it's crazy because now we have like apps that you can do it on your phone. So if I have my phone on me, I can record a whole demo like anywhere that I am. If I'm on the train, if I'm at home, if I'm, walking down the street, I can literally just pull my phone out and at least get the idea down so I can get somewhere where I can like flesh it out. But yeah, having access to so much technology has made that process easier for me because when things come, I don't have to wait to get in front of the computer or anything like that. I just like get it down. However I can get it down, I get it down.
Yeah, and that's you kind of gotta pull that trigger when you have it, because otherwise it's gone. Like so many
Yeah, you
times, and
lose it.
yeah, you think I would learn from personal experience of going through this, but I will sit down and I'm like working on something and I'll like just like going off of the dome and just come up with like a verse, and then I try to go back through it and I'm like I don't remember what I just said. I don't remember what those words were. I remember bits and pieces of it, but I don't
Yes.
have that anymore. But also, if I sit there with a voice memo, it's going to be 30 minutes long, and am I going to want to go back through that?
Yes, literally.
No.
I was gonna say, I wish voice memos was recording all the time, but then who's gonna
Yeah,
sit
then
there
you got
and
to go
go
back
through
through
it?
it.
And you have
Yeah.
to go listen to the exact moment. And it's okay. It's okay.
What's meant to be will be is is my whole thing. Is like
That's that's
if it's an idea that just kind of escapes you, probably wasn't meant to be the thing. If it
yeah.
was, it'll come back. I've had songs that
I've
I've sat
had
on
that.
for a
Yeah,
while
I've
and come
had that
back
happen.
to. Yeah.
Or I've even had like a melody that I came up with and like something happened and I didn't record it. And then I'll get it, days later or something. I'm like, whoa, that's the same. That's it. Now I gotta get it because I it came back. So it means I have to make sure that I
Yeah.
record this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's that serious.
crazy. Yeah,
It's that serious.
it is. Yeah, if that's a clear sign of like, hey, you missed your mark. Here's your second chance.
Yes.
Do it right this time.
Do it right now.
Yes. Yeah. This is the point in the podcast where I take a question from last week's artist for this week's artist. And so the question from
Okay.
last week is, what does success in music mean to you?
It definitely has changed over my 10-year career, professional career. I used to be like, oh, I want to have a Grammy when I'm 20 years old. I don't even know where that I don't even know where the age for that came from or like what the real desire was behind that. But the more that I've grown, the more that even when it comes to like getting paid for what I do, the success of it really comes for me when I'm performing to a group of people and they know my music, like word for word. It means that like it's served its purpose, it's planted a seed in their hearts and taken root and it's grown into something that has become a part of them. That means a lot to me. So just the more that that happens for me, I feel like, wow, I'm doing something. I have my community of people who really, really appreciate the time that I spend making this art and they've let it mean something to them. And, they think enough of me to come out and to actually share an experience where I get to sing it to them, but then we also get to have a moment together where we're all just sharing like this energy. It's actually, it's probably not the sexiest answer because it's not like it takes a real maturity and like a real love for the art to get to that point where it's not, everybody says it's not about the money, but if you can get paid for doing what you love, you take it. But just knowing that there's a process to all of that is I've found success in every season thus far, just in being able to make things that I feel good about, things that I feel like I've been divinely appointed to write and to release. And then, I've been at shows where people have come up to me after and they're like, I didn't even know you before today, but something made me come to this show and I have to have your music. Like I have to. Can you please put it in my phone? Where can I find it? And that always like it always makes me feel like, okay, I'm doing something right, rather than just feeling like, there's a chart of or a yeah, like I'm on some type of billboard chart and, my metrics have to be a certain thing or my streams have to be a certain thing. Like I was looking at the recap for the year the other day and I was just like, yeah, it is what it is. Like it's less than last year, but okay, like people are still listening. Like and I feel good about what I'm actually making. So yeah, I think that's a great way to feel about it.
Yeah, no, and I think something that comes over time and something that I've especially learned over the last year or two even is those smaller moments feel larger than the larger moments because they're personal. It's like those one-on-one deep conversations you have with a close friend. That versus like a lighthearted conversation at a party are going to have a
Mhm.
lot of different weights. It sounds like it feels like you're having more of an impact in a way of like you're exposed to more people, you're having more conversations, you're doing more things. But what's going to have that actual longer lasting impact is that intimate moment that's just this like private conversation and just this one-on-one thing. And so having that individual impact versus seeing it at a large where it's like, oh, numbers are crazy and this blew up and stuff like that. It's like that's great and it says that you're like expanding your reach, but how deep is that reach in itself? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like that's searching after that is where actual fans come from. And, if you're just spreading it wide, that's just where listeners come from. And what's more
exactly.
valuable?
Yeah, the family that listens to my music. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That whole little community. We're bringing people together and we're giving them the music.
Yes, that's wonderful. That's exactly how I feel. Thank you, Ava.
Of course. What is your question for the next artist?
My question for the next artist is, what would your dream collaboration be?
Okay. Cool. What would your dream collaboration be?
It would be Michael Jackson, but he's not here. So, um, I would really love to work with, um, who would I really, Leon Thomas. Yes,
That'd be cool.
Leon Thomas. I would love to work with him or Victoria Monet, either of those two.
All right.
Yeah, they're super cool.
Yeah. What is it that you think sets you apart from other independent artists?
Well, I mean, we've kind of been talking about it this whole time. There's only one of me. Um, and I think regardless of however many artists there are in the world, they are all beautiful and they are all doing fantastic work. I think I am my music. Like everything from the way that I walk to the way that I dress to the way that I love people to the way that I sing to the way that every single thing about my personality, I think can be felt, especially in a live performance. Um, I have taken on the title of like empath, and my therapist agrees with me. That I feel things more than the average person. And so those feelings really do inspire me to make things that help people to unearth their own feelings. And what sets me apart is just that I can't get rid of it. I can't be anything other than raw in my approach, in my presentation. And anybody that's ever seen the best performance from me has always said that whatever it is that I have, it's something that God gave. Like it's not something that I could just come up with on my own. But when I hit a stage and when I get into this certain mindset and heart position, like it's absolutely miraculous what happens. So that's cool. She's pretty cool. She's pretty nice. She's a pretty decent singer, you know. She's great. But yeah, I think Tamiya, the me, has allowed me to really take form and allow myself to be all of the things that I am without any inhibitions.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, like you said, we've been saying this the whole time. You're doing you, and that's all
Literally.
you can do.
And it's taken a
That's
while. It's really taken a long time to find the comfort and the confidence in that. And it's a journey. It's not like you wake up one day and you're like, "Oh, I'm myself and I don't want to be anybody else," because there's always like the influence, like we were talking about, always the inspiration of what other people are doing that's working. And so just always, streamlining through any inspiration that you may find to say, like, I'm taking this piece of this and this piece of this, but I'm adding my own thing to this too. Like, this is something that may not be new to everybody, but the way that I'm presenting it is it's a fresh and new way because I'm doing it. Like when you see the same recipe for a yellow cake, but somebody may add another egg or somebody may add another cup of water. Like it's the recipe that you bring to your life that, determines the flavor of it. And so my flavor, we already talked about the gumbo, but my flavor is just it's soul. Like it's heart, it's soul. It is what love actually feels like. If and I feel like if I had the opportunity to give the masses that, that's what it would be. I want people to feel loved. And that's what I embody. I embody love.
yeah, and I love that you started off by saying it's not something that just happens overnight because it really like it's you realize like I'm 24. And so like coming out of college, I was like, it's one of those things where it's like the younger you are, the more you think that you have to be doing this and you have to be doing that. And you have to be this way and do these things. And it's like, because society tells you to, and because, that's the social norm or whatever the case may be. And it's like you get pulled in all these different directions that you lose sight of what's at the core. But the older you
Hmm.
get, the more you're like, okay, like this type of person, not really for me. I don't need to spend my time doing this thing 'cause it's not really serving me. It's not really doing anything for me. I don't really enjoy it. I can lock more into the things that I really care about, the people that I really care about, and put energy more intentionally into where it should be going. And with that, finding more of who you are. Like we think that we know who we are, but that's going to change. You're going to be different a year from now. You're going to be different 5 years from
Of
now. You're going to be different 10 years from
course.
now. And it's just going to get more and more refined over time because you have to have experiences to know what you do and don't like, what you are and what you are not, and where your strengths lie and where your weaknesses might. And so you're right. It's a journey, and you don't wake up tomorrow being like, I know exactly. everything about who I am and exactly who I need to be and what I need to be doing, there's a process to that. And what's great
Hmm.
about our little time capsule conversation earlier is that you can watch that through the music. Because I'm sure what you're putting out now feels more you than what 3 years ago did.
Absolutely. I cringe, but I love it. I still do. I do love it. I do have to convince myself of that. I really do. I do.
You have to. I mean, you have to appreciate it for what it is. That was the best version of you that you could give at that time.
Absolutely.
We're 3 years
Absolutely.
past that, but that was at that moment, that was the best that you could give. That's the best vocal performance you could give, the best production you could do, the best way you could articulate what you're trying to say. And so that's all you can ask for. As long as what you're doing right now is the best that you can put together, job is done.
Yes, absolutely. And I needed to hear that. I really did because, singing those songs they have a different meaning. Like my first album, I listen back to the songs and they speak to me now in a different way than they did at that time. But I also I've added a lot more of my life experiences. How it comes out of my voice has changed, over the years, and I'm okay with how that's changed. Some notes I can't hear anymore, but that's okay. Like I'm able to create new, masterpieces and new time capsules with the same, love that was there before. But it's just, I grow and mature and I have life experiences. And when life is life, and you can definitely feel it in the music. So I think that as many time capsules as I'm able to make, I just want them to always be reminders of where I was at that moment because it makes me super grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just about delivering what you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. There is really no version of perfect. It just has to be what it's going to be. And then the next thing. And
Yeah,
that's just how it goes. That's a part of the journey. You just have to do the things.
absolutely. And I'm not that much like I'm 25, so I haven't got that much more on you, but I I definitely feel 60 inside of some of the things that have happened. So it's a blessing to carry the burden of being an artist, because I don't think people really understand what it feels like and looks like to be art all the time, every day. I and whatever your art is, you can be a doctor and be an artist. Like you're an art of medicine in the art of medicine, or you can be a lawyer and be in the art of justice, and whatever your art is. But when it comes to the creative arts, there's like a certain burden that I feel like we carry, um, in just making sure that we're on the right side of culture and on the right side of what everybody else is doing and saying, and not taking so many risks, but still taking risks and taking chances and pushing the envelope. You just like it, that toe to toe every day. It can sometimes be a lot, but it is so rewarding, to have been given this as my the thorn in my flesh. I could have been somebody's doctor and I would not have been happy about that at all.
I'm
I
with you
would
on that
not.
one. I can't do the gross stuff. It's just I don't have a stomach for
No.
that. I don't have the stomach for
Mm-mm.
that.
No.
uh,
Mm-mm.
no, it is a blessing and a curse at the
For
same
sure.
time. But
For
I
sure.
mean, I feel like my whole thing is always like you have to have bad days to appreciate the good days. And so it's like you have to go through those unfortunate experiences to create good things and create stuff that you're proud of and do those things. It's like it can be a taxing experience and being independent especially like is like a lot and you have a lot of things that you need to do to kind of keep things moving and floating and whatever else, but the outcome you get out of that, even if it's just putting your music out and getting a few people to hear it, is worth it.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
What impact do you want to have with your music and with your artistry?
I kind of touched on it in the last question, but I want people to feel loved and I want people to be inspired to also be loved. Because I feel like you have to be loved to be loved. And so whether you're in Bangladesh listening to my music or if you're in Austin, Texas, I want the person to feel both people to feel the exact same inspiration to, serve the community around them and to reflect love and light because I think that a lot of the music that we have in the world is not promoting, at the core loving people, forgiving people. Doesn't mean like everything has to be, you have to be buddy buddy with every single person, but to love and respect somebody for them being a created human being just like you, regardless of what your differences are, regardless of, how your relationships have changed with people. And that's something that I've had to, write music about with all of my failed relationships in my life. Just learning how to forgive people, to love people, for being people, because people are going to be people. And you're a person too. There are some days I'm like, ooh, I should not have said that. And I'm hoping that the community that I have around me will not only, check me in love, but will still continue to actually see good in me regardless of the things that I do. So in order for me to expect that from my community, I have to be forthcoming with doing that for the people that I meet. The lady that cuts me out on the train in the morning, like believing that there's something really good inside of her and that a moment doesn't define who she is, and reminding myself that people make mistakes and that sometimes people are not even aware of the mistakes that they're making. And it's not my job to be anybody's God, but it is my job to show you, that there is a God that loves you and that there are people that love you. And that if you would just, understand that you're worth so much, you'd move and react differently. So that's, regardless of who will see this interview, who will listen to my music from this, I am just, it is my deep and sincere passion and hope that you would be love to the people around you and that you would be loved and that the people around you would love you back. That I might be like the most hippie in thought, but I do believe there's a way that we can all like coexist. I believe there's a way that we can all live on this floating rock together without killing each other. I just believe that. I believe it to be true. And the older that I get, the more that I realize we've got a lot of work to do to get there. So I hope that my music is a step in the right direction, getting us there, the people around me at least.
Yeah, though I'm with you. Like I like to give the benefit of the doubt as much as I can. It's just North Carolina drivers, it's tough. It's
Can't be worse
tough.
than Miami. Can't be.
Oh, probably
Can't
not,
be.
but but you go from suburbs of Chicago highways to North Carolina highways. It's a
What part of
different.
Chicago?
I'm from Wheaton.
Okay. I have a friend that's living in Lombard,
Oh,
and
my mom's from
then
Lombard.
I have a friend that is living by the water. I can't remember where
Okay.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not far
that's
from Lombard.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well,
But
shout out to
yeah.
her.
But yeah, it is you have to give people benefit of the doubt. It is a little bit of a challenge at times, but I'm with you. I believe that there's good in everybody. Um, some people don't
It may
lock
be
into
real
it as
deep.
well as well
It
as
might
some
be
others.
deep, deep,
It
deep
might
in
be
there.
way down in there, but I like to think that at the core there's at least a little bit of good in there. But yeah, no, that's, I mean, that we could use more of that, that might help world peace sorts of elements and things
You
like
know,
that. It would be nice if we could if we could all get
it would
along.
totally be nice.
I don't know why we haven't tried that yet.
We keep doing the opposite. So
No,
at
yeah,
some point, we're gonna have to learn
do a
that
full
that's not
reset.
the way. No,
Yeah.
can we just reset
Yeah.
or upgrade
Get
or
the little Men in
some type
Black
of,
pens out and just
oh
start it
yes,
over. Yeah.
you and I together, we can take on at least the East Coast.
Yes, yeah, yeah. That Eastern Standard Time, we got it covered. We're
Yeah,
good.
we got it. We got it
Other
covered.
the other time zones, they might be on their own. I don't know. We
We can't
one
help
step at a time. One step at a time.
that.
But yeah, no, you're and yeah, like I said, we just need more of that energy. I feel like pessimism takes over too much. People just think that there's a right way to do things when there's not. Like, there's no such thing as a correct opinion.
Hmm.
That's okay. We can be different because at the same time, we are all the same. The human experience is the same. Everybody goes through loss, everybody goes through love, everybody goes through relationships of various different forms.
Yes.
Family dynamics are a thing. It's
Everybody
everybody's case is
struggles.
different, but the experience in itself, like the inherent thing that we are going through, carries over from one individual to the next. But we don't seem to
Yes.
understand that.
If only it were that simple, Ava. If only.
Everything's easier said than done, right?
100%. 100%. I'm telling you, we are a spectrum of people. Some of us are not even close. Not even close. But we working. We're working on it. I have hope. I really do have hope.
I'm with you. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
There's a light at the end of that tunnel.
It's gotta be.
There's
It's
gotta
gotta
be,
be.
right?
There's
This
gotta
isn't
be.
it, right?
Can't be. Please.
Well, I think that brings us to the final question, which is why music?
I think I have always had a real power with my voice. And over the course of my life, I've given oratorical speeches and speeches of all kinds. And so I think I've always known that the power that I have in this world comes from me being vocal. And so music has given me the opportunity to use my voice in a way that is sometimes I can sing something way better than I can say it. And the message may be the same, but the delivery is a little softer and it's a little more pleasing to the ear. So I think I've been divinely given the gift to tell the world some of the things that we need to hear, but maybe not coming down with the hammer like I really want to do, but rather singing and making songs for people to make a part of their daily lives that will inspire them and that will allow them to use their voices too. I think there's just something so powerful about the voice, like, especially when you get a group of people together and they can all sound like something. That's what it is. It just came to me like harmony. Like my whole life is just about harmony in my cooking and in my singing and in my life. Like I enjoy, I don't think there's any other art form in the world that utilizes harmony the way that music does. You know, you can mix colors and you can put together plays and you can do a number of things, but bringing a whole lot of things together at the same time and you sing this part and you sing this part and you sing this part. And what happens when we all do our part, it's like it creates something that's like, that sounds really good rather than like, if I know that if I know I'm not a soprano, I don't need to be singing soprano notes. It's just gonna make the overall sound not the best that it can possibly be. So music gives me the opportunity to really just create harmonic pieces, create things that all like it ties together this whole interview, things that probably would never go together on their own making a chord of like a chord of life out of things that probably never would be standalone, agreeable. Making it make sense. That's what my life is about, making it make sense.
Harmony is just the community form of music, or the other way around.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
it's because you're right. Like it's just a perfect example, like you said, with harmonies, specifically like with singers and stuff. It's like everybody kind of plays their own little part, and in itself, like just that one part, like might sound a little goofy by itself, but when you put it into the picture with other things that are also playing their part, it makes a pretty picture.
Yes. Yes.
you know, gumbo and its ingredients all come together. Just
We've
nice
made like
little food
harmony
harmony.
gumbo and Elliot Yamin and T-Pain and we've
Twang,
talked about all yes, the
covered all the
twang, the gumbo
bases.
twang, gumbo harmony twang. That's what I'm gonna name my band when I make one. And then I have
Next
you to
next
thank for it.
album called Gumbo Harmony.
Gumbo. Ooh, love it already.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that brings us to the end of this episode of the Why Music podcast. You can check back again next week for another conversation with another independent artist. Thanks for listening.